in McIntyre.
Okay.
Mick's a good person.
Now I'm going to see who accepts the stream. Twitch has accepted the stream. YouTube has accepted the stream. Facebook has accepted the stream.
Okay.
Now I got to get a link and put it on your page.
Thank you. And then I also put it on my webpage. That's why I want the YouTube link when I ask you for it, because I put it on my webpage.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Do you have your web page set up so I can put things? Yes. All right. I will get the link. Okay, Facebook is giving me the link. Now I can put it on your page. It is on your page.
Thank you. Hello, my page. We'll start the show soon. Hang in there.
Let's see if we have to do anything else. All right. I'm just going to adjust the cameras. Okay, now put your heads the way you're going to be on the show.
Okay, this is the way they're going to be.
You're going to be like that. Move you over a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
Are you okay?
I just cracked my neck.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I
That-
needed that.
That's on my Facebook page. People are watching, and you're cracking your neck.
Oops.
It's funny.
Hi, everyone. My
Hi,
neck cracked.
Right.
Okay, now, when the timer on the screen says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Okay. Hi, I'm Virginia McIntyre. I'm an evidential psychic medium, energy healer, spiritual advisor, and a reverend, so I can officiate weddings, baby christenings, things of that nature. Whatever your spiritual needs are, I'm here to serve the great I am. But I have, as my guest tonight, is back for another show, is Jennifer Nicholson. Jenny De Jesus Nicholson. And tonight's show on Illuminating Forward, that's the podcast, that's the name of the show, and we're here on Think Twice Radio, Home of the Future. And thank you to Richard Wicca that we are here today bringing to you a show about women in antiquity and goddesses, and we might even talk about women in contemporary society, you know, if we feel like it. We'll see how the spirit moves us tonight, right, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just see how that goes. So welcome to the show, everybody. And for those of us that will be, those of you that will be watching us after the show, we might not see your comments, but, you know, you can leave them on the Facebook page, on my Facebook page or Think Twice Radio,
Yep.
and we'll try to answer them, right?
Yeah.
So many women throughout history have been lost to the sands of time.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Wouldn't you agree that they haven't been like really prominent fixtures in our history books or in our spiritual books? And sometimes they were never recorded,
Yeah.
and other times they were recorded, but the sources that they were recorded in were lost or burnt.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Druids, they were burnt
Yeah.
because men and women were equal in Ireland back then with the Druids. So I want to talk about Junia. My speech impediment showing. And she's an exception to the rule.
Okay.
She was not lost in time. However, there is a twist. And what I want to do is I want to put on my other glasses because I have notes, because we all know I'm a chatty Cathy. I have the art of conversationalism down pat. So I'm going to use my notes. And these glasses are really good for reading.
Yeah.
So she was an exception. And the reason why she was an exception for our watchers is that she was written about in a book that was translated into over 1,000 languages. Right, but there's a twist. However, it wasn't until the 1970s it wasn't until the late 1970s because her identity was stripped from her and her gender removed, according to researcher and biblical scholar Hartman in 2020.
Interesting.
That's one of the people that have researched Junia. And she was ultimately erased from history. And this happened because her name was translated for hundreds of years into a masculine form, robbing her of her gender and of the recognition that she deserved throughout history, as determined by researcher Hartman in 2020, Lynn in 2020, and Thorley in 1996. These are only the researchers that I'm familiar with. There's probably a vast more of them, okay? But Junia was the third most prominent woman mentioned by the St. Paul in the Christian Bible. Paul states that Junia served in prison with him and called her a prominent apostle in Romans 6, verse 7.
Wow.
See?
I didn't know this.
No, of course
You're
not.
schooling me.
No, it's Romans 16, verse 7. Excuse me, Romans 16, verse 7.
Okay.
And Junia, like Prisca, who's also called Priscilla in the Bible, has been the subject of much debate in biblical scholarship,
Wow.
partly due to the original Greek spelling of her name and the description that accompanies it. From the 13th to the 20th century, this passage translated the names as Andronicus and Junius, thus making them masculine form.
Gotcha.
Instead of a feminine as the early Bible stated. So in the early Greek Bible, she was a female. And so she was thus erased from history. And then Powell in 2018, another researcher, and Longenecker in 2016, said that we must take note that the values and culture of the Romans had a thread of consistency in regards to the women's roles in society throughout the Republican and imperial periods.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's really interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. In the Roman Republic, married women had only the same rights as a girl child. So she basically didn't have any rights. And her husband could have sex with any unmarried woman that he chose, but the woman had to remain faithful to the man. Interesting, right?
Uh-huh.
But in the Roman family, the male carried the right of life and death over the entire household. So he could have his wife killed.
For no reason.
For no reason.
Any reason.
For
Any reason.
any reason. And this was verified by Phantom in 1994 by another researcher. Women were not looked upon equally in relationships, obviously.
Clearly.
And women were expected to stay true to their husbands, which we've already talked about. And women were celebrated for their connection to men. Okay? So now, there's another woman, there's many women in the Bible that people aren't really familiar with, but there was Phoebe. And that Phoebe, what's interesting about Phoebe is that Phoebe was the first person that Paul talked about.
Okay.
when he was in his final greetings to the Romans in chapter 16. Now, I'm going to read what he wrote about Phoebe. I'm going to read it.
Okay.
I commend to you our sister Phoebe, a deacon of the church at Cenchrea, so that you may welcome her in the Lord as in fitting for the saints, and help her in whatever she may require from you, for she has been a benefactor to many, and myself as well. So in other words, she was a leader in the church,
Yeah.
and she was a deacon.
Yeah.
And scholars like Sima and Casali argue that Paul uses the same language to describe himself as he used to describe Phoebe.
Mm.
Yeah. Now Priscilla, which her original name was Prisca.
Okay.
Okay, her and her husband Aquila were tent makers. So they were very wealthy, and they had a huge house where they would let Paul, preach and do his missionary work and whatever. And Prisca was mentioned in Romans 16 and in Acts, Corinthians, and Timothy.
Wow.
But we can go to church and sit in those pews and never hear about Prisca
No.
or Priscilla. She was also called Priscilla. Her and her husband Aquila had a tent making business, as I said. They journeyed with Paul in his missionary travels, so they traveled with him, and they were both seen as leaders in the faith because they gave instructions about the Holy Spirit, which was a very serious topic.
Mm-hmm.
Paul respected Prisca so much that when he mentions her in the Bible, he mentions Prisca before he mentions her husband Aquila.
Which was not. I'm
That was
assuming that was not the way to do that.
That was not the way it was done back in those days. And then, in 1977, there was a woman named Bernadette Bruton who fought for recognition of women in the Catholic Church, and she wanted them to be ordained and commissioned of women within the Catholic Church. And she published an article for the ordination of female priests within the Catholic tradition, and she specifically mentions Junia.
Oh.
Yeah. And she used Junia as an example of a biblical woman who held a place of leadership within the church, and she argued that it was unacceptable, to read Junia out of the scriptures due to her position of leadership.
Okay.
And I would say, I don't know about you, Jennifer, but I would say the battle continues in the Catholic Church and continues in the Christian church, period.
Mm-hmm.
That some denominations, women are seen as subservient.
Yeah.
And some denominations, it's okay for men to have extramarital affairs, but the woman, oh no, you better not do it.
You have to cleave only to your husband.
I know an example of a church here. I'm not going to mention any names in within the city limits of Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
where an assistant pastor had an extramarital affair, and they put the woman up at the church and forlorned her and called her a sinner and everything else, but she wasn't even married. The man was married, and he kept his position in the church. And
Wow.
she was a Sunday school teacher, and they fired her. Yeah, she could no longer teach Sunday school, whatever. And my girlfriend witnessed this,
That's wild.
and she left that church because of it.
Well, yeah. Like,
Isn't that wild? So we're still having the struggle today in
religion
and religion and spirituality. It's not just the Christian church,
No.
and it's not just in spiritual places. It's all through society, all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, that the divine feminine has been squashed. But, there's a lot of people that say that it's all coming up now.
Yes.
It's all coming up now. Like this
Yes.
woman, Bernadette Bruton, in 1977, wrote an article to and published it about the Catholic Church. She wanted to be ordained a priest.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Wild. Somebody's saying wild.
It's Derek. I can see it on this little screen over there.
Oh, is
he
it?
waved and now he says wild. Hi.
Okay. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Derek. Now let's talk about goddesses.
Yes.
I find them so exciting. So before you talk about your Taino goddess, because we want to make sure we get to that. Since we're talking about the Romans and the Roman Church, I want to talk about a Roman goddess. Now, her name is Persephone.
Persephone?
Persephone, yes.
Yes.
And she is the current cool girl of mythological figures, okay? She's a Roman goddess, and for me, Persephone, I'm just going to call her P because of my speech impediment. And by the way, to all our viewers, we're drinking tea, okay? We're drinking tea.
Just so you know.
Just so you know, this is tea talk. So now, but in the Greek spelling, she's called Persephone.
Yeah.
But in the Latin, she's called Prosperina.
Oh.
Yeah. Now
Interesting.
I call her the cool girl of the mythological eras because she's got so many different roles. But her story. So if anybody wants to research her, I'm going to warn you ahead of time. It can be a little triggering because
she went through some things.
There's multiple mentions of abduction and violence against women. So you want to be really careful. Like if you have a history of these things, these acts being, done against you, you might want to, go to the Taino goddess that Jennifer's going to talk about and forget about P, okay? just forget about her. But for some people, her story is a tragic tale of violence and stolen innocence to others. And it could also be seen as a heartbreak between a mother and a daughter. And to others, it's a twisted love story. But P represents a duality of chaos and tragedy paired with femininity and beauty. Now, we all know how to do that. That's why I call her the cool girl of mythology. At once, the goddess of spring, like we are in now. We're in spring.
Yep.
And simultaneously, the queen of the underworld.
Yes.
The more you learn about her, the more complicated and compelling she becomes, I think. But somehow, the story has also come to represent an alternative tale of love, agency, and empowerment. Because she had all these things happen to her, but yet she became this goddess, right? Sometimes her story manages to represent all of these interpretations at once. And so I wanted to talk about that goddess, but Jennifer has brought goddess cards, and we are going to do a reading for the collective. Do you want to talk about your Taino goddess first? What do you want to do?
Sure. Let's talk about Atabe.
I'll never say that. I'll never be able to say that. I have a speech impediment.
And I don't know if I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But so from my reading about her, she so the Tainos had zemis, which were like gods and goddesses, but they were more like ancestral spirits, and this was part of their mythology. So she is she's the ancestral mother of all of the Taino zemis.
She's the queen bee.
She's the queen mother, yes.
Ooh.
And let me read my notes here.
Go ahead.
She's
read your
one of
notes.
2 supreme ancestral spirits in Taino mythology. She was worshipped as a zemi, not necessarily a goddess. I think in colonialism made it like they called her a goddess, but with their word for her was a zemi. And and so she was in the embodiment of nature, ancestral spirits, all water, all fresh water, seas and lakes and streams.
Like Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and fertility. The Tainos would pray to her for fertility. And what else do I have in here? She was one of the most important spirits of the native tribes of the Caribbean islands, so Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Cuba, those.
How about the Dominican Republic?
I believe the Dominican Republic as well.
Haiti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, she's
So she was real important.
very important, very important, and she is. There's in Puerto Rico, I think it's in Utuado. Is I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's Caguana. It is a place where you can go. People can go and see like ancient drawings and depictions of Taino living, like hieroglyphics. They have stuff written on like in caves and in rocks and stuff like that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. That's one of my goals to.
When you go to Puerto Rico?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you are going to get there.
Yes, I will get there, but I want to go there because I want to witness and see what that was all about. So.
Well, you know, I had a friend of mine. Well, he was also one of my professors.
Mhm.
That he studied graffiti
Okay.
all over the world, and he also studied hieroglyphics all over the world.
Mhm.
And the same hieroglyphics that you can get, let's say, in Montana, are the same ones you can get in China. It's really, really interesting.
That's very interesting.
Really interesting.
And that makes
and
sense.
It's the same thing with graffiti too.
Hmm. And that makes sense, like all the ancient writings and stuff, because at one point all the landmass was together at some point.
Yes,
so.
this is true. This is very, very true. For all of
Mhm.
you who don't know, we're giving you a geography lesson. In case you missed this course in high school, we're giving you. Don't worry. We'll get you up to speed. So,
And I did a little more reading, and there's another goddess of Taino. She's another Zemi. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. It's Guabanse. I'm not sure.
that's okay.
But she is the Zemi of chaos and disorder, and she's also.
She's prominent now.
And she is also.
She hit the United States real good.
My goodness. And she also controls the weather. So
the world. She's really prominent now in the world. Yes.
She controls the weather. So when there's for those of you who don't know, hurricane, the word hurricane derives from the Taino huracan. There's a number of different words that we use today in the English language that derives from, it's actually called Arawak.
Yes,
which is the
that's what they
Yes.
what they speak. That's
Yeah,
what
so,
they
like-
speak. Puritanos speak Arawak. Yes.
So like barbecue was barbacoa. I think canoe is one of them. There's a couple of different words.
Really, this is
Mhm.
so interesting.
Mm-hmm. But so huracan is what we would say hurricane, and she's depicted as like a spiral, which is like
That's
a
what a
hurricane.
hurricane. Yeah, and hurricanes are certainly chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had enough of those recently, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of chaos going on in the world. All I have to do is turn on the news and you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, turn it off. Just
Yes.
turn it off and
Don't even watch.
don't even bother because you can't believe anybody. I mean,
Yeah, and it'll just raise your blood pressure. Nobody needs that.
right. And we don't have news stations anymore. We only have news commentaries. So,
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Very
but
true.
enough of that.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting that we use Arawak words
Mm-hmm.
in our English language.
Yeah.
And and there are so many people that don't understand that Puerto Ricans are United States citizens.
Yes.
So many people. I mean, we're not going to name names, but we talked about somebody that we both knew that who was Puerto Rican who didn't even know
Yeah.
that he was a United States citizen.
Yeah.
Right. So,
You're right.
so it's like be informed.
Yes. Yes. We are U.S. citizens.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So what do you got going on over here now with the cards? So what kind of cards are these? Let's get that straight.
These are called the Goddess Oracle, and each card is a different goddess from all different. There's Greek, there's Celtic, there's Roman, there's some African goddesses, Chinese. There's all different goddesses in here. So
So if you shuffle them up, will you give a reading to the collective?
sure.
So what this means is that this is to the collective, whoever's watching this at any time, this may pertain to you.
Yeah.
So pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention. Because we're not taking phone calls. We're not giving individual, like, little mini readings or whatever. We're not doing that. We're having tea time.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened?
Full screen protect.
Oh, there we go. Well, we're back.
So, and these don't, I mean, even if you're a guy watching, you can,
Right,
because we
right.
all have feminine and masculine energies.
That's a good
within
point,
us.
Jennifer. I'm glad this show is not for just for women, because we're talking about women. This is for men and women. I mean, this is to educate the masses.
Yeah. Yep. So when people talk about divine feminine and divine masculine, they are two separate things, but they both reside within each and every one of us. And
And it's important to have both.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Let me see the outside of the cards while you're shuffling. Let's show people. This is the outside of the card. That's the outside of the card. That's the mark of them.
Yeah.
Okay? Here you go.
All right. So
Somebody else is saying hi. Who's saying hi?
I think that was Derek again too.
That was Derek
He
again?
said hi again.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, it's not showing who's saying it on these, like
Well,
on the big
he's
screen,
got-
but right
he-
there I can
know,
see
he's got new technology that we got to get used to.
it. Yeah. All right. So, do one more shuffle. Aphrodite.
Oh, okay.
She is the goddess of love.
So needed in the world right now.
Yeah.
So needed.
Yeah. So I feel like they're pretty like self-explanatory, you know, like
Well, maybe not to our viewers. so
not to
so
everybody,
elaborate.
but Aphrodite is the goddess of love, and we could all use love in our lives, right?
And we could use more love in the world too.
yes, and show love to each
Very
other, and I feel you can call upon her to help you with that, with whether it's self-love or projecting that love that you have from yourself out into others.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, who published these cards?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't have the box.
Okay.
So I don't remember who did these, but
Okay.
they're very pretty.
The Goddess Oracle, they're called.
Yes, Goddess
See?
Oracle.
The Goddess Oracle, that's what they're called.
Yeah. And I think I found these at Spiritually Rooted.
Oh, in the city of Tonawanda.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. You know, she's a Lily Dale medium now.
Is she?
Yes.
That's very cool. Good for her.
Yeah, so Spiritually Rooted. Oh, that's a nice store.
Yeah, I love
Nice
that
store.
store.
And it's local in Buffalo, New York. In case you're watching from Buffalo, New York, that's local to Buffalo, New York. But
that's
I'm
that's where Derek and I went after we got married.
Now, I want to talk about Kuan Yin. I have cards. I'm going to show you. From
Those are pretty.
From Kuan Yin. And I'm going to talk about Kuan Yin and about who she is. But first, I want to show you the book. Now,
And-
when you have an oracle card, you shuffle them, you pull a card, and then the guidebook will help you to figure out what the message is from that particular card. But it's also important to use your intuition, like Jennifer just did. Go with your gut.
Yeah.
But this is the Kuan Yin oracle, and this is by Alana Fairchild, and she does a couple decks. Okay.
That's who you named your cat after.
I most certainly did, about Kuan Yin. Now, first I'm going to talk about her. Kuan Yin is a goddess, and she's a revered figure in Buddhism and Taoism, known as the Bodhisattva, a compassion and the goddess of mercy. She is believed to be the female embodiment of compassion and often depicted as a beautiful young woman, as you can see in these pictures here. Let's put these. Got them upside down. Let's turn. Here we go.
Gorgeous. That artwork is really nice.
She originated in India, which I thought was very interesting,
Oh.
as Avatatishvara. I don't know if I got that right. And a male Bodhisattva, and became a popular female deity in East Asian Buddhism. She is usually called upon in times of trouble and struggling. This is very appropriate at this time in history in this country. And you look to the world, there's much suffering and chaos going on.
Yep.
People can't sleep. There's all kinds of things going on.
Yeah.
She has achieved enlightenment, but chose to postpone reaching nirvana to help others on her spiritual journey. Yeah. Some traditions depict her as a male or a male and female.
Oh, so duality.
Yeah. She has different names across East Asia and beyond. She's known as Canon in Japan
Okay.
and Quan Am in Vietnam, just as an example. I was talking to a friend of mine today whose wife is from China, and, he had a different name also. He said Quan Yin.
Okay.
Instead of Quan with K, it was with a G.
Oh,
And he said that he's got statues all over his house.
wow.
Yeah,
Very
interesting.
cool.
Yeah. Now, she's usually depicted with a vase containing the elixir of immortality and a willow branch and a crown. And you can see that in this card. Let's move it up a little bit. There we go. And she is the mother of compassion. And she guides us to enlightenment, which is being able to live in harmony and unity with the love that is surrendering into love. And I'd like to add that enlightenment is not meant to be a distant spiritual goal. It's not. It's something we can choose to live at any time by choosing love and kindness and compassion and wisdom over fear, judgment and anger, or separation from source, or whatever name you want to give a supreme being, but being separate from that, it's over that. And our divine beings seek to nourish us as though we blossom into the fullness of our being. Oh, we have another card of Kuan Yin. Okay.
That's from the deck from this one.
Yeah, from
That's their depiction of Kuan Yin.
This is from the Goddesses deck of Jennifer. Here's another depiction of Kuan Yin.
Yeah.
We all are beautiful souls and have the power to co-create a beautiful life through which our soul light can radiate and uplift others. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she reminds us of the way of love rather than of fear. We all can be a source of great light healing and wisdom on the plane if we choose. Myself, I try to choose to bask in the loving glow of Kuan Yin, her guidance and blessings, and her mantra. She has a mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, which means the jewel of the lotus, which represents awakening and enlightenment. So,
Very nice.
So, when I played with these cards right before I came, one card came, and I was focusing on getting a card for the collective. One card came out, and here's the card of the call of the dancing crane. And so I have notes here, so because I want to keep, it up. The call of the dancing crane. A dancing crane moves through waters and mud gracefully and listens to sound and does so with elegance. And the dancing crane is a beautiful creature.
Yeah.
And there are times when the astral waters of our emotional life become stagnant and will benefit from the healing of movement, grace, and beauty of the dancing crane. We all get to this point in our life. And as a collective, we might be there now.
Yeah.
We might be there now. It is a reminder that sound can be healing too, because when you dance, you're usually dancing to music, right?
Yep.
This is particularly so when your thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns do not support you in living the spiritual destiny you are supposed to be doing and you are born to live.
That's
Right.
right.
So my question is to our viewers is that have you ever felt like you were a different person on a holiday or on a trip, on a vacation, or traveling? This is because you were free of the astral gravity that you usually live within on a day-to-day basis. The astral plane is like glue. It's like sticky. It's like that paper that you catch flies with. You stick to it. When we put enough energy of habit through our beliefs and stories from our past that condition how we interpret current life experience, we can get stuck in astral gravity, unable to let go of the ways of thinking and reacting, even if we really wish to do so. Even if we don't want to do it, we end up doing it anyway. How many of us find ourselves in that bag of tricks, right? We can create sticky astral thought and beliefs that attach to houses, places, and people. It's true, right?
Yeah.
It's true. We can bring the news into our bedroom when we're trying to go to sleep. You
Yep.
know, it's the same thing. It's just a sticky astral thought. When we are in different environments, we have a chance to create fresh habits. That's why we feel like a new person sometimes, and beliefs, which is why a holiday or travel can be so refreshing and inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people come back from vacation feeling refreshed.
Rejuvenated.
That especially if they've been to the beach or like going on a picnic or something like that.
Yeah. Being in nature. Water is very healing.
Yes. So sometimes this isn't possible, and we need healing to break through the muddy stagnation of old thoughts and beliefs. Right now. Yeah. Yeah. So this is like speaking to a lot of people, I think, that'll be watching this podcast.
Yeah.
As we grow spiritually, we can outgrow our astral conditioning. So as we move forward with ourselves, as we move to improve ourselves, we can let go of who we once were.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the same person I was yesterday, let alone last year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We're always changing.
Yeah, right. So we can move through mud like the dancing crane.
Yeah.
Dancing crane.
That's beautiful.
Dancing crane. Dancing crane.
Yeah.
Freely and gracefully does the dancing crane dance. And we have a call to the dancing crane. If we accept healing energy to help us filter through our psychological programs so our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions can create new habits and patterns more aligned with what we would like to experience in our lives. So my suggestion is that we get into somatic movement, that we actually move and we actually dance and we sway and we use movement and sound and whatever to get unstuck. And we can do that, or use mantras, chants, music to raise our vibration, and we can get healing from the ascended masters. We can look to them. We can look to goddesses. We can look to other people, you know. And go for walks, drives to different locations, a park, a beach. If you feel you have to move or change situations, now this is key. If you feel you have to move or change situations, this card is calling to you.
Yeah.
To follow your intuition.
Yeah.
And or if you're being called to connect with new groups, this card is speaking to you.
It's like push through the mud.
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes we have to be around new people to raise ourselves. You know, we can't stay with the same people that we once were. We have to find new people to be close to.
Yeah.
So this oracle is confirming your intuition, encouraging you to embrace those changes in your life. Kuan Yin. And so when I pulled this card, I was like, this is so appropriate to what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
So appropriate. So, as you said, Jennifer, earlier today before the show started, the cards don't lie. The cards don't lie. But I have a prayer that I'd like people to say silently with me, okay? I'm going to read it. Okay, so, I get it right. Beloved Kuan Yin goddess calling through the dancing crane, may your sound grace and light shine brighter than my doubt or fear. May your light help my own soul draw near. May I surrender that which no longer serves me with unconditional love and replace it with inspiration of your divine love. Om Shanti. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's Kuan Yin. My goddess cards, after my fire, they kind of like got misplaced. But we have time for you to pull another card, Jennifer.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do a little shuffly again. Let's see. Sekhmet? I believe that's an Egyptian
Sekhmet.
goddess.
Anger and rage.
Mm.
A lot of that going around.
So that could be calling for us to channel that anger and rage into something productive, something creative. Sometimes we use our anger to make art or we channel it different ways.
That could be socially acceptable.
Yeah.
And that could be actually healthy because anger and rage can be very unhealthy.
Yes. So if
Right.
you're bottling it up, that can manifest as a lot of sicknesses in the body. But if you're letting it out in a healthy way, not yelling at people or, punching walls or people, you could
Right.
be writing or
Write a poem or something.
or draw or paint
Or paint.
do
You or doodle. You could do an abstract painting.
or even exercise. Some people exercise to get rid of that.
That's a good idea too.
To channel that. And I feel like life has been lifing for a lot of people. And we may be feeling this anger and rage and whatever other emotions are popping up, and find a good way to channel that. Whatever works for you.
Well,
Whatever
it's
works for you.
just the other
That's
day.
healthy.
I was on the phone with somebody who had misinformation, and I let them have their misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a political nature, which I really didn't want to get into, but I was like, and I could hear their frustration.
Yeah.
And what they were saying was wrong. It wasn't true. But they obviously got it from some news station or whatever. Who knows where they got this misinformation from.
Yeah.
But I could hear their frustration in their voice, their anger as they were talking about this and the rage. So I just let it go. And sometimes all people need is a container to put it.
Yes.
They don't need somebody to go, well, that's not true. You're watching the wrong station, because they're not watching the wrong station. We only have news commentaries.
Yeah.
So you have to research everything.
Yeah.
And so, so I didn't want to judge her or anything like that. So I just listened, whatever. I just listened, but I could feel her energy over the phone, the momentum building. And so I just let her go. And then, she said she had to go. I was like, okay, fine. I thought, well, you vented. Okay, whatever. And I didn't correct you, because sometimes the last thing you need when somebody's venting is someone correcting you.
Yeah. Or giving unwanted advice or whatever.
Right.
They just need someone to listen.
They just need somebody to listen and let them vent. So
Yeah.
that's what I did, and I got off the phone and I went, whatever, brushed it off because it was certainly a conversation I didn't want to have.
Mm-hmm.
But, sometimes that's what you do as friends. You listen to people's, angst, people's anger and rage, because that's what, and sometimes when you vent, it doesn't turn into rage.
No.
We all know about, what do they call it? The car rage? What do they call it? Traffic rage?
Road rage?
Road rage. That's it.
Yes.
Road rage.
Well,
You know,
that's anxiety. That manifests. So when you have road rage, it's actually an anxious response.
Really?
That's I read that somewhere. So a lot of you have to be very alert on the road, right? And people get nervous driving, especially on the highways. And you got people nowadays. I know you drive around here in the city. People are driving very erratic.
They go through red lights and
Yeah,
everything. That happened to me just yesterday. I had 2 cars go through a red light right in front of me. I was like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Or people driving up the middle lane, or just people thinking that they rule the road.
Passing you on the right. Right.
Yeah, and so with us having to pay attention to all that, it becomes a nervous thing. It becomes an anxiety thing. So when you road rage, it's an anxious response. So it comes out as anger, but it's really like your nervous system is firing on all cylinders.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, when they're anxious, they use humor, like they start laughing for no reason. It's like, really?
Yeah.
It's like a nervous response. They just
Yeah.
laugh for no reason. And I experienced that the other day with a younger woman than I mean, everybody's younger than me. But she was like, and I knew it was happening with her because she did it 3 times, and I knew it was a nervous response her body was just telling her to laugh because she had to get the
anxiety out.
And then she said it at the end. She said, well, I can't come any closer, and I'm laughing. She said, but it's like a release. She goes, I feel better after I laugh. I go, yeah, it's a release from your anxiety.
Yeah.
Of having to get too close to another human being. So, some people can't get close to a human being. You know, it's really kind of, and she was a combat veteran, and, she's got that issue going on with her, and she's working on it, and she was trying, but she goes, I'm good right here. I said, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, fine, so it's really interesting, this anger and rage, and we see it with a lot of people.
Yeah.
We see it with a lot of people. But, there comes with it a personal responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
Just because I understand someone doesn't mean I actually approve of everything they do.
Right.
Like this person that was venting to me the other day on the phone. I've had conversations with this person about not watching certain news stations. Well, obviously, we're doing that again, and it's making you upset.
Yeah.
So every now and then I can be that container, but on a steady diet, my personal responsibility to myself is that I can't do that.
Right.
Because I don't want it. I don't want that energy. I don't want to get upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to take personal responsibility for our behavior and what we subject ourselves to. And it's not just on TV. It's with friends. It's with people.
Yeah.
And as we grow spiritually, we become more accepting and more tolerant.
Yes.
We live in more unity, like Kuan Yin said and Aphrodite said, about with love and whatever.
Yeah.
We get to be more harmonious with what's going on in the world, even though the world can seem like a little chaos and a little crazy.
We find the good in things.
I mean, you put on CBS nightly news, you know that the world's not doing good at all.
No.
Yeah, you know that right away.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to pull another card? What do you want to do?
I don't know.
You can pull another card, and then we'll call it a night. We got 14 more minutes left.
Okay.
Where can people find you, Jennifer?
You can find me on, let's see, I'm on Instagram at Crystalline Healing 716. I'm also on TikTok. That's also Crystalline Healing 716 or Jenny D. I changed my name recently.
Oh, did you?
I read tarot. So there's a bunch of tarot videos. I've recently been going live on TikTok and doing evidential mediumship. So you can find me doing that.
Now, are there certain days of the week that you do this on?
So it's been lately Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. between 10 and 11 in the mornings, Eastern. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing that. Although I've been getting restricted for some reason.
You're being restricted on TikTok?
Yeah. I'm not sure what's happening there.
What does that mean when you're being restricted?
So it said that I violated community guidelines for fake engagement. So what I was reading about it, because it's happened the past 3 times I've gone live, and so they said that people can't find me or like search for me, or I don't come up as recommendations or something like that. So people aren't, like, if they're in the live section of TikTok and they're scrolling like through the lives, you can't find me. And so I looked it up and like why it was happening, and it said like if I'm repeating myself, like trying to get people to like the live, or like buying followers or something. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm not doing any of that. So we came down to it is that somebody's reporting me.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm not sure who's reporting me, but it's interesting.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, it's in social media, it's hard being a medium because some people feel, even though it's in the Bible, it's in the Christian Bible, some people think that it's the work of the devil. But the devil is in Christian theology.
Right.
It's not necessarily in spiritualism, which is a recognized religion. In fact, 1 out of 10 people used to be spiritualists in this country.
Right.
So if people think you're from the devil, they need to keep that devil in their Christian religion and not put it on you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's going to be my new answer to people who say that I'm from the devil. I'm not from the devil. Everything I do is with God, as far as mediumship goes. And here's your other card.
Yeah.
So that's my new answer: is that the devil belongs in your religion. It's not necessarily in my frame of reference and how I and how I choose to encounter God.
Right. And, I've had people...
We live in a pluralistic society. America is a pluralistic society.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
So.
Yep.
Oh, and who's this? Charlie who?
Charlie Ferroy, I need a reading.
Oh, we're not doing readings tonight, but we're going to pull a card, Charlie.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Doing collectives.
We're doing collectives, so let's see if this card resonates with you. I'm sorry, we're not doing readings tonight, Charlie. I'm sorry. But thank you for like coming on. Okay, so what do we got here?
We have Lilith.
Lilith is an interesting goddess. Yes. Okay, so Charlie, listen in and see if this resonates with you.
So Lilith...
Power.
Power. So she calls on us to find our personal power. Now, Lilith was in original... I think she's in the... Is she in the Torah? Wasn't she originally Adam's...
People do believe that. Some
yeah,
people
wasn't
believe
there?
that.
Wasn't
people
there's a
believe
story of that?
There is a story of Lilith that has to do with Adam and Eve. Yes.
And she didn't want to conform to what she's. I'm equal to Adam. I'm not beneath him, and because of that, she was cast out.
Right.
If that's how the story. They think that's how the story goes. But she's also in... we have Lilith in our birth charts, like astrologically. And so she calls on us to find our personal power. So kind of whatever that means to you there too.
Right.
Finding yourself and looking within to...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Charlie, if you need a reading, you can either contact Jennifer or myself. I can be reached at virginiamcintyre.com, which is spelled like my Facebook page, Virginia like the state, McIntyre, McIntyre.com, and you can book right there on my webpage, or you can call me at 716-352-7112. 716-352-7112. I'm sorry that we can't accommodate you for a personal reading tonight, but that's not on our agenda.
Yeah.
And you can find Jennifer at Crystalline Healing or on TikTok and that's Jenny D on TikTok.
Yes.
And and it's donation based with Jenny on TikTok, and that's Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 to 11.
Yep.
So I hope that the reading for the collective was helpful to you, Charlie. Was it helpful to you at all? Are you still with us?
I'm not sure if he's there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's there either.
Sometimes it takes a minute for the comments to come through.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
He might be there. He might not be there. We'll
That's
see.
true. But I hope that this was helpful to people about the Kuan Yin Oracle. And Jennifer reads tarot cards. I don't read tarot cards. Jennifer reads tarot cards. There's a distinct difference between a
Excuse me.
tarot card and an oracle card.
Yes.
Jennifer, can you explain to people what the difference is so people know?
So I like to think of it as Oracle can. It's kind of like the bigger picture.
Right. Right.
You can pull a card and you get, a generalization, whereas a tarot can get in depth. Each card has, obviously with Oracle, they all have different meanings. Each card has a different meaning. The same thing with tarot, but it gets down to the nitty gritty and the details of your life and what you have going on.
And it can talk about your past, your future, and your present.
Yep.
Sometimes you can get a tarot card reader that'll do a 3-card spread with past,
Yep.
present, and future. But usually it's done with a much bigger spread of cards, correct?
Yep, everybody's a little bit different. Some people do what's the most common is the Celtic cross. Some people do you can do like an astrological one or like a birthday reading. So like what to know on your birthday and then what to know for the year ahead. There's all sorts of different things. How I normally do it is I just kind of lay out a certain amount of cards and I take what's from the cards. So it's not really, I don't read in order, if I guess you could say,
Okay.
all the time.
Now, because you follow your intuition and you
Yeah.
follow what spirit moves you.
Yeah.
Now, I know when I have read tarot cards for myself, I've done the Celtic cross, and I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's helpful. It's very helpful.
Yeah, it's been very helpful to me in times in my life when I felt that I needed that little extra oomph, And there's nothing wrong with reading your own tarot cards.
No,
there's
not
nothing
at all.
wrong with that at all. People, and there's nothing wrong with reading your own oracle cards. I read oracle cards for myself all the time, and I find it very helpful.
Yeah.
I find it very helpful. I have numerous decks. This is right now my favorite deck, the Kuan Yin Oracle by Alana Fairchild. And the artwork, we really should mention who the artist
That
is.
artwork is beautiful.
Because Zhang Hao. And blessings, guidance, and enlightenment from the divine feminine. And Alana does different types of decks. So
Okay. Good to know.
So it says on the back, it's a 44 cards, and Kuan Yin, radiant with divine compassion. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing too. Differences. Oracle cards are there's generally less of them in the deck. So like that's a 44. I think this is either 44 or 52. And then tarot is generally 78.
Yeah, they got the
78
major and the
cards.
minor arcana, right?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. People get scared with like the tower and stuff and the death card.
And the death card just means change, right?
It means transformation,
Transformation.
rebirth. It's
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're letting go of old things and to bring in the new. Because sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot, I think, in this lifetime. Well, tell people again where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok, Crystalline Healing 716, or on TikTok, Jenny D. Either one, I'll pop up. I'm on Facebook too, Jenny De Jesus Nicholson.
Yes.
or Crystalline Healing 716.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. So you can find me on my webpage. That's the best way to get a hold of me for a reading or whatever, or to see some of the articles I've written, for medium.com or for the Buffalo Latino Journal. I'm a columnist, Investing in Ourselves is the name of my column. That's some of them have been posted on my webpage, but VirginiaMcIntyre.com. I'm also Reverend Virginia McIntyre Facebook page. Virginia Ginger Kerwin McIntyre is another page. And I got a private group on Facebook,
You do.
Illuminating Forward. So this has been Illuminating Forward, the podcast. And we have to give a big thank you to Richard Wicca.
Thank you, Richard.
And Think Twice Radio and Home of the Future. And I want you to know that even though I put my headphones on, it worked well with my new hearing aids. I
Yay.
have new hearing aids, and they're really working out. I got them at the Buffalo VA because I'm a veteran. They're really working out. So I'm going to let you go, and thank you for coming, Jennifer. It's
Thank
always
you.
a pleasure. And let's
for having me
have a
on.
little sip of our tea. Thank you. Tea Talk with Jenny and Virginia. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.